The sister of LA Clipper Kawhi Leonard and another woman were in court today charged with a murder at Pechanga Casino. Prosecutors say Leonard's sister, Kamisha Williams, and another woman, Candace Townsend, beat and robbed 84-year-old Afaf Assad in a casino bathroom. Assad died 4 days later. Williams and Townsend did not enter pleas today. That means they're going to be back in court next month.
We give ourselves this view that we live in a world that's safe and civil, but in the end, it's like a wild world, you know?
Her family says Assad had been to the casino several times before. They appreciate the help Pechanga gave investigators, but wonder if the one weak spot in the casino security might be the bathrooms, where, of course, there are no cameras. Back to you.
Two women under arrest tonight for a startling crime. They're accused of killing an 84-year-old woman inside the Pechanga Resort Casino. The Long Beach woman was found severely beaten in a hotel bathroom.
In the summer of 2019, the name of Kawhi Leonard was synonymous with triumph. Just weeks earlier, he had completed one of the most remarkable championship runs in modern basketball history. After leading the Toronto Raptors to their first NBA title, he signed a massive contract to return home to Southern California and join the Los Angeles Clippers. His quiet dominance on the court had made him one of the most respected athletes in the world. But while his career was reaching new heights, a dark and shocking story was unfolding far from the spotlight. It would not involve Kawhi Leonard himself. Instead, it would center on someone from his own family, a woman named Kamisha Williams, and a crime so brutal that it would end with an elderly woman dead on a casino bathroom floor. The story begins on the morning of August 31st, 2019. At the time, 84-year-old Afaf Assad and her husband, 93-year-old Yuanis Assad, made a trip to the Pechanga Resort Casino in Temecula, California. For the elderly couple, it was a simple outing, a few hours of gambling, a routine visit that many retirees make. Afaf carried a bright pink purse that reportedly held about $1,000 in casino winnings and cash intended for gambling. The couple had been at the casino for only a short time when Afaf walked toward the restroom.
Two women under arrest tonight for a startling crime. They're accused of killing an 84-year-old woman inside the Pechanga Resort Casino. The Long Beach woman was found severely beaten in a hotel bathroom.
Riverside deputies tracked down the two suspects, both from Moreno Valley. KCAL 9's Lori Perez is now in the studio, having talked to the victim's family.
And as you can imagine, Afaf Assad's family and loved ones are heartbroken and stunned tonight as they plan her funeral.
What happened next would turn an ordinary morning into a homicide investigation. Inside that same casino was 35-year-old Kamisha Williams. Williams had grown up in the Inland Empire region of Southern California. Within her family, she shared a blood connection to one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. Her younger brother, Kawhi Leonard, had already become an NBA Finals MVP and a global sports figure. But by 2019, Williams was living a very different life.
Great, like Kyle said, we was on a run. The building exploded after that gun. Kind of got us a little bit more adrenaline to get another stop. And I've been playing with him for a while now. And, it was chemistry right there. So I know just to keep running the call. If you don't have nothing easy, make the right play, like you said.
Court records and investigative reports would later indicate that she had prior convictions for theft and robbery. Investigators also described a pattern of criminal behavior that had stretched back years. While her brother's career had brought wealth and international fame, Williams had struggled with repeated encounters with the criminal justice system. On that August morning, she was not alone. She had arrived at the casino with another woman named Candace Townsend. According to prosecutors, the two women were watching the casino floor when they noticed the elderly couple. The pink purse stood out. To investigators, what followed appeared to be a calculated opportunity. At approximately 7:30 in the morning, Afaf Assad walked into the women's restroom. Surveillance footage later showed Williams following her inside. Meanwhile, prosecutors said Townsend remained outside the restroom, acting as a lookout and even preventing a custodian from entering. Inside the restroom, no cameras captured what happened. But there was a witness. A woman sitting inside one of the stalls later told investigators she heard a loud thud. Moments later, Williams exited the restroom. Security footage showed her leaving, quickly meeting back up with Townsend. The two women then headed directly toward the casino exit. When employees later entered the restroom, they discovered Afaf Assad lying on the floor. She was bleeding heavily and unresponsive. Her skull had been fractured. Emergency responders rushed her to the hospital, but the injuries were catastrophic. Doctors determined that the trauma to her head had caused irreversible damage. 4 days later, on September 4th, 2019, Afaf Assad died from those injuries. The case immediately triggered a homicide investigation. Casinos are among the most heavily surveilled environments in the world. Cameras monitor entrances, hallways, gaming tables, and exits. Investigators began reconstructing the suspects' movements minute by minute. The footage led them to Williams and Townsend. Just days after the attack, both women were arrested. Prosecutors charged them with murder, robbery, and elder abuse in connection with the death of Afaf Assad.
We watched them go in, waved to them goodbye, have a nice time, we'll see you in a few hours. Didn't even get a chance to play. She walked through the door, she had, some money in her wallet because she was ready to play that day, and I don't know if they targeted her because she just walked through the door and they knew she had money in her wallet.
When the arrest became public, the story quickly exploded into national headlines because of the family connection. News outlets confirmed that Kamisha Williams was the sister of NBA superstar Kawhi Leonard. The relationship was verified by family members speaking to reporters shortly after the arrest. Leonard himself was not accused of any wrongdoing and had no involvement in the crime. But the revelation added an unexpected layer to the case. At the exact moment when Leonard's career was soaring, fresh off an NBA championship and a massive contract, his sister was sitting in jail accused of killing an elderly woman for a purse containing roughly $1,000. Investigators pushed for Williams to be held without bail. In court filings, a sheriff's investigator argued that Williams posed a serious risk of fleeing. The investigator also noted that she had relatives who were financially successful and might be able to post bail. The judge agreed. Williams remained behind bars. As the case moved through the legal system, prosecutors laid out their theory of what happened inside the restroom. They alleged that Williams confronted Afaf Assad and violently attacked her in order to steal the purse. The force of the attack was so severe that Assad's skull was fractured when she hit the floor. Medical experts later determined that the injuries were consistent with a powerful shove, punch, or other violent impact. After the assault, prosecutors said Williams grabbed the purse and fled. Townsend, waiting outside, allegedly helped her escape, but their attempt to disappear from the scene lasted only a few days. The trial would not begin for years. Like many criminal cases in California, the proceedings moved slowly through pre-trial hearings and delays. Meanwhile, the victim's family waited for answers. For Afaf Assad's relatives, the case was devastating. She had been married for decades. Her husband had accompanied her to the casino that day. In the days after the attack, he was left to cope with the loss of the woman he had spent most of his life with. Her daughter later described the emotional toll of the crime in court. She wrote that part of her died in the hospital room where her mother lay after the attack. The family, she said, was not seeking vengeance, but there needed to be accountability for what had happened. Finally, in early 2023, the case reached its conclusion. After a month-long trial, a jury found both women guilty. Kamisha Williams and Candace Townsend were convicted of first-degree murder, along with robbery and elder abuse charges connected to the killing of Afaf Assad. The verdict meant that the jury accepted prosecutors' argument that the killing occurred during the commission of a robbery. Under California law, that classification carries severe consequences. In April 2023, the courtroom gathered again for sentencing. The judge handed down the punishment. Both Williams and Townsend were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The court also applied a sentencing enhancement because the murder occurred during a robbery. During the hearing, members of the victim's family spoke about the pain that had followed the attack. They described a long, painful journey through the criminal justice system. Williams, according to reports from the courtroom, remained largely expressionless as the sentence was read. Through her attorney, she denied responsibility for the killing, but the jury's verdict had already sealed her fate. For the rest of her life, she would remain behind bars. Outside the courtroom, the case left behind a complicated and uncomfortable reality. For Kawhi Leonard, the story unfolded largely in silence. Leonard is known throughout the NBA for his intensely private personality. He rarely discusses personal matters in public and avoids media attention whenever possible. True to that pattern, he did not publicly comment in detail about the case involving his sister.
I don't think everybody does, you know what I mean? I think it's just, it's more paid attention to when I do something good, the camera to go to me or see what I'm doing at the exact moment. But, when I watch games from past, from, Kobe or, Shaq or Mike.
Family members did speak briefly to reporters in the early days after the arrest, emphasizing that Leonard had nothing to do with the crime, and legally, he never did. But the contrast between the two siblings remained striking. One had become an NBA champion, widely respected for discipline, focus, and quiet professionalism. The other had been convicted of murdering an 84-year-old woman during a robbery inside a casino restroom. Two lives shaped by the same family history had ended up on radically different paths. The story also carried a deeper layer of tragedy. More than a decade earlier, in 2008, Kawhi Leonard's father, Mark Leonard, had been shot and killed at the car wash he owned in California. The murder remains unsolved. That earlier loss had already cast a shadow over the Leonard family. Now, years later, another act of violence had once again placed the family name in headlines, this time on the opposite side of the courtroom. At its core, the case of Kamisha Williams was not a story about basketball. It was about choices, about how quickly a single act of violence can destroy multiple lives at once. For Afaf Assad, a quiet morning trip to a casino ended with fatal injuries on a restroom floor. For her family, the loss became permanent. For Kamisha Williams, the decision to commit a robbery escalated into a murder conviction that will keep her in prison for the rest of her life. And for Kawhi Leonard, one of the most reserved figures in professional sports, it became a deeply personal tragedy unfolding far from the basketball court. A reminder that fame, success, and fortune cannot shield anyone from the darker realities that sometimes emerge within their own families. Because behind the headlines about championships and contracts, there was another story entirely. A story that began in a casino restroom in Temecula and ended with a life sentence.